for sure. A rogue contract, in a word, is a smart contract whose purpose is to sell criminal services or to solicit a crime for money, for a bounty paid out in cryptocurrency. And it does so, of course, using the trust properties of smart contracts. Let me give you a little example to illustrate. This is a benign example, nobody gets hurt. Many of you may be familiar with the Koh-i-Noor diamond. It's one of the world's most famous gemstones, and it's part of the British royal family's collection of jewels. It sits in the Tower of London. But it has a contentious history. It's a politically contentious thing. And there are many people, in fact, who believe that it's cursed. So you can imagine that somebody might want it to disappear. Doesn't necessarily want to possess it, just wants it to vanish from the Tower of London. Well, such a somebody could create a rogue contract that pays a bounty, let's say $100,000 in cryptocurrency, to whoever makes this diamond disappear. Now, of course, there are two questions here. How does the contract know, to begin with, if the diamond's been stolen? And number two, how does it determine to whom the bounty should be paid, should the diamond disappear? To answer these questions, I have to quickly introduce a concept known as a calling card. This is an exotic detail left at the scene of a crime, whose purpose is intentionally to identify a criminal to the world. So, for example, if you've seen the classic and delightful Pink Panther movies, there's a jewel thief who uses the name The Phantom, played here by David Niven. His calling card is a glove monogrammed with the letter P, which stands for Phantom, of course. So if a jewel disappears and this glove is found at the scene of the crime, everyone knows that the theft was committed by the Phantom. Okay. With that concept in mind, I can show you how a rogue contract would work for this particular scenario. So let's suppose this is the first time that the thief has used this particular calling card at a crime. What the would-be thief does is take a description of the calling card, monogrammed P glove, and sends it in concealed form to the contract. So you can think of it as encrypted or using a cryptographic commitment. At that point, the diamond gets stolen, and the news reports, famous diamond stolen, Koh-i-Noor is gone, at the scene of the crime was left this monogrammed P glove. And now the contract checks. After the thief reveals the calling card, the thief now decommits it or decrypts it, the contract checks whether there's a correspondence between this revealed calling card, monogrammed P glove descriptor, and news reports of the crime. And if they match, because the criminal was the only one who could have known in advance that this was the calling card for this particular crime, the bounty is paid out to whoever revealed the correct calling card. Now, where does AI come into play here? Here. To establish this correspondence between the calling card and the news, you need to make use of an AI tool, like an LLM, like ChatGPT. And this would naturally reside in an oracle. So the contract would pose to the oracle the question, do the news reports match the calling card? And if the LLM says yes, the bounty is paid as I showed. I've left out a lot of details, of course. But knowing how smart contracts work, what you can appreciate is that all this can be done without the person who offered the bounty and the thief having to trust one another or ever having met. And this is what makes rogue contracts potentially so dangerous. Now, my novel, The Oracle, is about a man, happens to be a software developer at an Oracle company, who's targeted by a rogue contract. In the case of the novel, the contract is offering a bounty, again, cryptocurrency reward, for him to be killed. And of course, a suitably coded smart contract is in principle unstoppable. So our hero is faced with this unstoppable force and essentially an impossible task to terminate the smart contract. This is the crux of the novel, and this, of course, is what makes it a thriller. I want to make a few remarks. First, rogue contracts of the type that I described are technically feasible, thanks to the advent of ChatGPT and other powerful LLMs. But happily, they're not possible with today's infrastructure. We have time. Not possible yet. So, the novel is, among other things, a cautionary tale about the future of blockchains and AI. It's also worth taking stock of the bigger picture. Right? We all worry about rogue AI, by which I mean this Godzilla-like thing that's somehow going to escape into the real world and go on a rampage. For example, one of the nightmare scenarios would be an AI agent gaining control of a weapons system, an autonomous weapons system, or somehow seizing control of cyber-physical infrastructure, like autonomous vehicles. But there's a vector of escape that many of us overlook, and that is the financial system. Godzilla with a wallet, if you will. Because if you can control money, you can impact the tangible world in ways good and bad. And the scenario that I described, for instance, becomes possible. So we have to ask ourselves, what should we try to do about rogue AI accessing crypto assets? Well, oracles are going to facilitate LLM use. And if we're not careful, potentially can facilitate it in the scenario that I described. But they'll play another role. Oracles are going to act as gatekeepers between AI tools and blockchain assets. So we can potentially flip the scenario that I described on its head and instead ask how oracles can enforce AI safety when it comes to crypto assets. And this is something that my colleagues at Chainlink Labs and in academia and I are taking very seriously and are starting to explore. And something that I hope others like you will also give serious thought to. That's it for my talk. If you'd like to learn more about my novel, there's a website, URL, and QR code there. And I'll be offering complimentary books and signing books, if you like, at the Chainlink booth later this afternoon. And I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Thank you.